I believe that the dangers for children and teens in terms of mental health today have gotten progressively worse in, I'd say, the last decade. If you look at current prevalence rates and current rates of mental illness, 1 in 5 kids has a diagnosable mental illness. Whether we're widening our criteria so that they do get diagnosed or not, the thing is that kids are suffering. I'm astounded by how young kids are coming in with problems in mental health disorders that I wouldn't have really seen that young before. For example, bipolar disorder, or eating problems, eating disorders, or the level of depression or thoughts of wanting to harm themselves or someone else. I feel like our kids are unable to manage whatever's being brought to them. The insights these kids have, astounds me. A lot of times people have been skeptical in the past about teaching this with kids who are young. And I really believe, in a lot of ways, they get it more than adults get it because they're so open to it. They aren't expecting or have preconceived ideas that maybe as an adult we already have. No, there's nothing medically wrong with you. But in all reality, I validate that, hey, you are having this experience. I believe that you're having a chest pain. I believe you're having a headache, and that's really a bummer, you know? So what can we do to help is I've found time and time again by teaching them the mindfulness skills and the stress relaxation techniques that are related to the mindfulness program, that those things shift almost immediately. Children and teens aren't necessarily very kind to themselves, particularly teens. I think children are still at a level where they aren't as judgmental of themselves and of their experiences, and I think as you get a little bit older, everything becomes a balance of, is this good, is this bad, is this right, or is this wrong? And our brain kind of categorizes things, which makes it easier to be judgmental. And so I think when you look at mindfulness, it gives you that moment, that pause of noticing where your mind goes. So maybe you can kind of break some of that cycle of automatically judging, and to start even noticing one good quality about themselves or one thing they're proud of, or not starting to compare themselves to a standard that are unrealistic expectations of what's perfect, because that doesn't exist for anybody. I see kids and I hear the things they're saying. You know, hey, I'm sleeping at night. I'm not taking that medication anymore. I'm not cutting anymore. I'm choosing to do all these other things. Positive coping strategies. We don't teach kids or teens positive coping strategies, and often the only times kids are getting attention is when they do something wrong instead of when they do something right. And I think a lot of children today are really missing a lot of structure, you know, where this is when we go to bedtime and we have dinner at this time. And I think that our culture, especially in the Bay Area, is so different in that everyone's going, that no one's just kind of being and sitting and providing time for, hey, how was your day? You know, or what's going on with you? How are you feeling? Or even having a conversation anymore, because I'm not saying TV's bad or computer's bad, but I think a lot of children's time is really filled up with the media, such as TV or computers or video games, and a lot of that time is taking away from time where parents and kids can talk and converse, and that can also be that opportunity where those kids are learning the qualities that I think are really important about how to be a good friend, or how to manage your emotions, or how to think before you respond instead of just reacting. What do you do with yourself for a minute of silence? That's a pretty interesting idea. Or what does it really feel like to be in my own skin? Sometimes it's very painful for people. And well, what does that pain feel like? Instead of pushing it away and ignoring that I don't feel very good in my own skin, how can I be here? Because how can we really be there for someone else if we're not there for us first? And how to explain to a kid and to a teen that doesn't mean we're selfish. A lot of kids feel powerless and feel like they don't have a lot of control. They have to pay attention to their teacher and the rules and follow instructions at home by parents. People often don't realize they have the skills to overcome depression, to overcome anxiety. I'm not saying it's not going to be a problem that they're going to have throughout their life if someone has, major depressive disorder. However, I see that they learn that they do have skills or tools within the power to help manage some very debilitating mental health issues. The mindfulness research shows that it improves metacognition. And metacognition is something that has a lot to do with our prefrontal cortex, which is helping us in terms of our reasoning abilities, in terms of being able to know what kind of decisions to make or be aware of our thoughts. And the prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed till we're 25 years old. And so if we are teaching children and teens mindfulness, which has been shown to improve prefrontal cortex growth, development, and ability, we can maybe make the leap that it's also improving metacognition. There is some preliminary research that actually shows that metacognition has improved in mindfulness training for kids. And a lot of times cutters either want to feel the pain of cutting and not emotional pain, or they want to not feel any pain, so they cut, which sounds a little counterintuitive, but that's the logic. And so I'm like, okay, here, go grab an ice cube. And so I found that's been really, really helpful, because a lot of teens will go grab an ice cube. They'll say, I grabbed an ice cube. Instead of going and start eating a whole bunch of food, I took an ice cube first. Is it always going to help? Not necessarily. But I think that, and also that idea of adjusting, having some power again over your own level of stress and suffering really, really is impactful. Kids who are in high school are often taking math and know what X and Y axes are, and they can actually plot out how much stress and suffering they have, and when they reduce their blocking, how much that goes down. And so they can literally actually see it. And now they can see, well, I actually have some control and power over how crappy I feel or over what I do and what decisions I make. Oh, wow. And I get time and time again, teens will come back to me in my individual sessions or even in group sessions and say, wow, I used that and it really helps, and I was able to see it. I also had a lot of anxiety, I think, as a kid, as growing up and in my life. And I found that it was the first thing that helped me to really notice it and to kind of be with it, and not, instead of trying to push it away or get angry at myself for being stressed or having a lot of thoughts, that I could just notice them. And the more I started to notice them and just be with them, they kind of started becoming less of an issue and less prominent in my experience. And so it's really helped me personally. And then I thought, as a therapist, that it'd be really nice to start integrating some of this in my therapy with clients, and then also in a group setting.